We're still zooming. Just remember to unmute your mics. Thank you. It's red.
That clock is a little slow, but it's 4 o'clock. You can start.
We're watching carefully. We like to start all the time.
Okay, it's 4.
4 o'clock. Welcome everyone to the meeting of TIRZ 4. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And as I do so, I'd like to welcome William Ferguson for the first time.
Thank you,
You've
Greg.
all gotten to meet him. Carol McCutcheon has served us faithfully. She's moved to TIRZ 3, and William is joining us at least for the next year or thereabouts. So,
Or as long as the mayor tells me to.
exactly, exactly. So welcome.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
We
Okay,
do not have anybody signed up.
always like to offer that option. First order of business. I'll take a chairman's privilege at the moment and welcome our guest from the University of Houston. You've all met him before. He's with us again today. And I'm expecting to hear the development report that we will have later. So welcome again. And go Cougars. First order of business is consideration of an action on the minutes of our last meeting of June 20th. I have a motion from Cynthia to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second from Pamela. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Item number 4, orientation and ethics training. You've all had this before, but it's required and we'll have it again. Meredith Reed, did I say that right? Meredith Reed?
Very, very close.
Very close.
Very close.
You can correct me if you'd like.
It's better than what I've been called before. I go, it's reading.
Reed, okay.
Yes, sir.
Welcome Meredith. She's our city attorney and she will give us the quick version of our ethics training.
So if you served last year, this is going to look really familiar to you. If you served the year before that, it's going to be even more familiar. So my disclaimer, ethics, property that Hasbro. So when you talk the word ethics, you probably ask yourself 2 questions. And one of them is, can she operate the machine? So the 2 questions, what am I required to do? And what happens if I don't? Well, as you're contemplating those, I want you to keep 2 state laws in mind. Chapter 171 and Chapter 176 of the Local Government Code. So Chapter 171 is a regulation of conflicts of interest. What does a conflict of interest prohibit me from doing? It prohibits you from filing an affidavit on an item prior to voting or talking about it. So you have to file it if you have a substantial interest. And you say, what is the substantial interest you say? Substantial interest in a business entity is if you, your spouse, your parent, or your child own 10% or more of the voting stock, shares, or market value of the company, have $15,000 or more of the fair market value of the business entity, or your paycheck has 10% or more the past year from this company. And you say substantial interest in real property, if you, your spouse, your parent, or child own $2,500 or more of the fair market value. It's a very, very low threshold. So you say, I've got this substantial interest, and what is it I'm supposed to do? You need to file an affidavit with the city secretary's office stating the nature and extent of your interest, whether it's business or property, whether it's you, your parent, your spouse, or your child, and you must abstain from participation, discussion, and vote on the matter. The last part is very important. You need to file it before the discussion. You can't sit throughout the discussion and go, you know what? I own that Burger King. Maybe I shouldn't be sitting here. And if you decide not to file that affidavit, what happens? It's a Class A misdemeanor, fine not to exceed $4,000, or if the district attorney's office is having a very bad day, you could go to county lockup and do both. Chapter 176. This is a little bit more exciting to talk about, like in November, December timeframe, because this is where you get to brag. You get to brag about receiving certain gifts and business relationships. Once again, you have this little affidavit you file at the city secretary's office, 5 p.m. on the 7th business day after you receive the gift, or you find out you have this interest. Business relationships. So if a vendor is in front of your board and you're related by 3rd degree by blood, 2nd degree by marriage, or if you or a family member get $2,500 during the 12-month period prior to the contract coming before this board, you get to go talk to the city secretary's office and fill out the affidavit. The best part, I call this gifts, the district attorney's office calls them bribes. So under state law, you have to file an affidavit if you receive a gift or a bribe from a vendor once it reaches $100. So keep a little tally. If you hit 99 in a rolling 12 months, you're fine. Once you hit that last dollar, you have to file a form with the city secretary's office. And it's by vendor for a rolling 12 months. So if you have multiple vendors that are trying to bribe you for smaller dollar amounts, you're fine. It's only when it reaches that $100 that the district attorney get angry and decide you get to hang out with them. So what is a gift? Gift could be food, lodging, entertainment. One wonderful thing about food, though, is if you're at the actual table with the vendor, you can eat that second dessert. You can have an extra bottle of wine. There is no limit under state law for food if the vendor is present. And if you decide not to comply with that one, it's only a Class C misdemeanor. And if your vote is the one that helped push the contract through, the contract could be declared void. For ethical people, I'm sure this is not a concern for you, but do you have any questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. We now have review of and discussion on purpose, roles, responsibilities, and functions of the tax increment reinvestment zone number 4 board of directors by Jessica Hubble, Senior Development Manager. Thank you, Jessica, and welcome.
You're welcome. And so good afternoon, everybody. I know many of you have had this before. Just know we can send out these details after the fact too, if anybody wants it for your records. So City Council Resolution 1524 requires that all city boards receive an annual orientation to introduce board members of their and review their responsibilities, as well as to review the zone's previous work and significant agreements. This policy also requires a one-time open meetings training, which is scheduled through city secretary. Additionally, the state of Texas requires a conflict of interest and disclosure training, which you just had from our lovely city attorney. So the zone has a 9-member board, 4 city appointees and 1 appointee from each, the Fort Bend County Drainage District, and then MUD 137, 138, and 139. MUD 137 is who holds the position for position 7, but they've yet to put somebody in that seat as of yet. In 2021, rules and procedures were established to guide administrative and operational procedures, including membership and term length, duties and powers, meeting procedures, conflicts, and executive sessions. So as a reminder, here's a map of the zone, which encompasses the portion of Telfair development, the UH Sugar Lane campus, the Smart Financial Center, and the surrounding Track 5 area, as well as the festival site, which is located in the TIRZ, which is Crown Festival Park, as you guys know. So the zone was created in December 2009 through Ordinance 1768, which established a 701 acre zone with a 5-member board. At that time, the city was the only participant and agreed to contribute 50% of the increment generated by property taxes. Contributions were to begin in 2010 and continue through the zone's expiration in 2039. The creation of ordinance was amended in December 2010 by Ordinance 1807, which added 4 board positions for the possible participation of the Drainage District, MUD 137, 138, and 139. And the amendment also reduced the acreage to 698 acres by removing some of the residential plats. So next, for the final project plan, that outlines the zone's projects in priority order, which was approved in February 2013. Those project costs are estimated at about $50 million, with non-project investment estimated at $1.6 billion. That estimate is for private development costs over the next 30 years. The project plan also stipulates that the zone will not issue debt, but can reimburse debt service for project costs incurred by the city, county, UH, or a developer. Next, we'll review the taxing entities that participate in the zone. The tax increment revenue generated by zone participants will help fund the implementation of the project plan. So in 2011, both MUD 138 and 139 agreed to participate at a tax rate equal to 50% of the city's tax rate above their base value. So MUD 138's base value is $10.5 million, while MUD 139's base value is $10.9 million. The county and drainage district participate in 2013 at 50% of taxes above their base value of 72.1 million. In 2013, the city and zone approved a support services agreement that allows the city manager to make expenditures in the form of materials, facilities, and support personnel for the zone through the annual budget process. Support personnel and services include general administration, financial services, legal services, and the administration of contracts and projects. So that's EcoDev, budget, legal, everyone you'll see here at your meetings. So each year in September, the board will recommend a budget to city council for approval. This year, city council will approve the budget in October, which budget we'll go over later this afternoon. For FY22, revenues are estimated at 1.1 million and expenditures are estimated at around 205,000. Included in those expenditures under administrative report are those engineering and traffic studies that were brought to you guys back in June. So that's why you'll see the numbers a bit higher this year. Our ending fund balance for FY22 is estimated at 6 million. So next, the zone's annual report is a requirement of Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code, and it displays annual revenues, expenditures, debt, captured values, and taxes collected. The board makes their recommendation to City Council for approval of this report in December, and then upon Council's approval, we send it to the State Comptroller and then all the taxing entities within the zone. So this is the normal board calendar. If we meet at all these times, we always meet at 4 p.m. on the third Monday of the month. The budget and ethics training will always be done in September. The annual report recommendation will always be in December. And then if we do not have a reason to meet in March or June, we'll shift the other ones to the other meetings. That makes sense. And with that, do you have any questions I can answer for you?
Any questions for Jessica? Thank you,
Okay.
Jessica. No questions. You're back for the development update, review of and discussion on the TIRZ increment reinvestment zone number 4 annual development update.
All right, so today we're going to review the 2022 development update. This will have some 2021 information and then some 2022, just so you're aware. So in this map, you'll see the districts that we'll be touching on today. North of Highway 59, we'll discuss Telfair Westcott, University Commons Phase 2, Telfair West Commercial District, Telfair West Business District, and then below 59, we've got track 5 and floor. So here you can see the zone's assessed values through the year. The values continue to grow with a growth of 22% between 2021 and 2022, which is a big jump. In 2022, the assessed values of the zone was 319 million and the counties was 313 million, which, as I said, is about a 22% increase for city and county. So Telfair Westcott had their final zoning approved in 2016. Tract A contains the Zaxby's that opened in 2017. Tract B is proposed to be medical or a child care facility, but no plans or development have begun yet. And then finally, Tract C contains a retail center that opened in 2019, which most suites are occupied. The Telfair West Commercial District, which contains the Telfair Acura and University Commons Phase 2 that we just reviewed, contains 31 acres total, of which approximately 14 remains. This area was zoned as a general development plan PD in September 2013, and a revised PD was approved in July 2018, but final zoning has yet to be approved. These parcels will have commercial use with a focus of retail. And then University Commons Phase 2 is a 12.8 acre parcel that's across from University Boulevard from Phase 1. The final PD was approved in December 2017 and opened the beginning of 2019. It's anchored by the Sprouts grocery store. And then finally, we have the 20.35 acre Telfair West Business District. So final zoning was approved in June 2013, which outlines a commercial use, including office and medical. Of these parcels, Reserve A in orange has been opened as a medical office building, and Reserve J in green is open as Azul plastic surgery. To review the other remaining parcels, Reserve B has a proposed 12,000 square foot, 1-story retail center. Reserve C and D were combined for a 2-story medical office of about 40,000 square feet. Reserve E, F, and G are vacant. And Reserve H will be the Blue Legend Swim School. They're currently finishing internal build out. Reserve I is a 24,000 square foot, 3-story speculative Seth Brother office building. These permits are also currently under staff review. And then finally, Resort K will be the West Law Firm Group, which is currently under construction. So track 5. So let's talk about Smart first. So the first show post-COVID was July 16th, 2021 with Sebastian Maniscalco. 41 shows were held within 2021, and they saw around 141,000 paid attendees through the remainder of 2021. Some of the biggest artists were Mark Anthony, Alice Cooper, Ron White, Carol G, and Pentatonics. Some additional notable mentions is that Smart saw a huge return in their workforce for people that were there pre-COVID. So they saw a lot of the same ushers, security, stagehands, and food and beverage, which is a great thing because that was a big concern for a long time of bringing back their workforce. And then also in 2021, ATG brought the food and beverage in-house. So it's all taken care of in-house now. And then so far in 2022, they've seen 493 paid attendees, and they're expecting 100,000 throughout the end of the year. So some highlights from this year are Bob Dylan, Goo Goo Dolls, Alicia Keys, and then they have upcoming acts like Beach Boys, Steve Martin, and Martin Short, Chris Rock, and many more. So for the remainder of track 5, as some of you may know, Brookfield Properties, which was formerly known as Newland, has sold approximately 37 acres to University Texas Systems. So that's the pink portions you see right here. So what we do know is that this is going to be an MD Anderson medical campus that'll be around 430,000 square feet. Beyond that, we don't know any specifics. They are currently in their RFP process, so there's only limited information that we do know. But staff is working really hard to have those conversations and open that dialogue so we can ensure that we're up to speed on what they're going to be doing out there. It's right next door. In regarding the Floor property or previously on Floor property, the 50 acres. In 2019, Floor made the decision to indefinitely delay that project. Earlier this year, they put that parcel up for sale. And as of a few weeks ago, we were informed that it is currently under contract from a potential new owner. Staff has only met with them a few times. There's no site plan that has been submitted at this time, but what we do know is they're wanting it to be a mixed use site. So retail, office, residential, it'll be a mix of that. So we'll hopefully provide updates on that the more we find out. And then lastly, regarding the city's 22 acres, so where the current parking lot sits for Smart Financial Center, staff is working to identify the development opportunities and strategies to ensure that the vision of the site is still realized. Being some of the things have changed since we initially did the planning, we want to make sure that what's done on that site makes sense, right? And it's all cohesive and we can still develop that property to that mixed use commercial, artistic feel that we want. So the hotel conference center option still on the table, it's still up for discussion. We're just trying to really make sure we work through all of the opportunities to make sure that the best one is identified. And we want to make sure that we achieve the vision that was once set out there, knowing that we have a few different partners at play, but it still has an opportunity to be something really great because that hospital alone will bring a lot of people there. So as of now, the only remaining open piece of land that's not under contract would be that 8 acres at the top right that's remaining.
Before you move, may I ask
Yeah,
a question?
course.
University of Texas system, is that a tax exempt or taxable? Tax exempt? Okay, so we lose value.
We do.
Okay.
We do, but we don't know really what that's going to mean. Like as we saw, the assessed values this year came in really high for the land of, on the north side. So it didn't really impact us. What happens in the coming years, we'll know more. It just kind of depends that's why it's really important to make sure what's built out on the land we can control or the land that we do have more of a say in, that we do the best possible thing for the district. But yeah, it is tax exempt.
Okay.
So U of H Sugar Land, and as you guys know, Dr. Daniel is here in case any questions arise that I cannot answer. So as a reminder, representatives from our engineering department presented at the June meeting on the Brazos River turnaround drainage and traffic study that was done. So since then, TxDOT has approved the model that was done by Lid 17 levy, and they have agreed with the detention that was proposed. Additionally, TxDOT has approved the traffic study that was done by Kimley Horn and Associates. The remaining outstanding items at this time is the environmental study that's being handled by TxDOT. So everything that the city was a part of, it's done. We're waiting now to hear from TxDOT on the environmental. So after that, the next steps would be moving into that design phase, which I believe the cost is a split. I don't have specific details on that, but we'll continue to bring back the updates as we hear them, and we'll have engineering come and continue to update on that project as it moves forward. So in the fall of 2021, the University of Houston at Sugar Land partnered with WT as their P3 consultant to focus on establishing the parameters for the growth at their instructional site, which is the 40 acres that you see highlighted along 59. In August 2022, U of H hosted the P3 market outreach event to present information and gather feedback from developers and industry partners regarding the development of that 40-acre zone. U of H is looking for those key partners whose work overlaps with the U of H program offerings with a focus in advanced manufacturing, logistics, supply chain, and biotech. So responses from that event were due early September, and they did receive some formal responses and multiple informal responses. Their next step is actually going to a conference in DC or Washington to kind of flesh some of those things out. And then WT is also working through the responses and will present to them later in the coming months. So we'll wait for those updates. But staff is really excited. It's going to bring a lot of opportunity for that area, and we're here to support however we can. So with that, I will take any additional questions you may have.
Questions for Jessica? Thank you, Jessica. We appreciate having you and having that update. Next item is a presentation, consideration of an action on the fiscal year 2022 budget to projections amendment and recommendation of the proposed fiscal year 23 budget to members of the City Council. Scott Butler, Director of Budget and Strategy, will present. Scott, welcome.
So my only disclaimer is that I'm not Scott Butler. He's out of state on a conference and I'm filling in for him today. My name is actually Justin Mejorado and I'm the Budget and Strategy Manager for the city. So
Welcome, Justin.
good afternoon, everybody. So this afternoon, we're going to go and look at an update on fiscal year 22 incremental tax revenues and what that means for your fiscal year 22 budget projections. Then we'll go into fiscal year 23 incremental tax values and what that looks like in terms of fiscal year 23 budget. And then we'll finalize by wrapping up and asking you to take action on amending fiscal year 22 budget, as well as recommending fiscal year 23 budget to City Council. So here's a quick snapshot of the update to fiscal year 22's incremental tax revenues, or values rather. So with the posted changes to the approved values shown on the left, which is what we've developed the original fiscal year 22 budget off of, you'll see that we've had an overall reduction on the city's tax roll side of just over 26.6 million or 6.8%. And then just under 19.4 million or 10.5% for the county's tax roll. So what does that look like in terms of revenues? So moving on to the next slide. Overall, with those impacts, we're looking at just under or just over a $76,000 impact to incremental tax revenues in fiscal year 22. That's about a 6.3% reduction for the fiscal year. Here's a breakdown between each of the taxing entities for TIRZ. Moving on to fiscal year 23.
Justin,
Yes,
does the Fort Bend County include drainage?
it does.
Okay.
It includes both the general and the drainage portion of their tax rate. So overall, looking at your fiscal year 22 budget, total revenues are projected at 1.14 million. And the $86,000 decrease includes both the $76,000 reduction in incremental tax revenues, as well as a $10,000 reduction to the interest income that's estimated in the fund. Just our return on portfolio investments just has been lower than we originally anticipated. Expenditures, that includes a $50,000 reduction, and it's estimated to capture some savings in legal services in the fund. For fiscal year 22, our expenditure budget of 205 does include that $192,000 that was carried over from the prior fiscal year for the drainage and traffic impact studies for the Brazos River Turn alternate. So all in all, with a decrease in revenues and expenditures, we're looking at ending fund balance of just over 6 million, and a difference of 36,000 from what we initially anticipated with the original budget.
A question,
Yes, sir.
investments, what are you doing for investments?
So the city, they have, that's not by any means my area of expertise. We do have a separate investment officer, but the city invests in several different pools. We have Texas Pool, Texas Class. There's one where it was Techstars, the last one. Then we have agencies and CDs that the city invests in. And this year, we're seeing the interest rates pick up, obviously, but some of our older investments have lower rates. And as they start to roll off, we're picking up those higher interest rates investments. And
Okay.
we'll see this come back up in the next fiscal year. Any other questions? Okay. So here's a snapshot of your fiscal year 23 incremental tax values for each of the taxing entities. You see the city here at 297 million, and the county at 240, Bud 138 at 177, and Bud 139 at 43 million. So just in comparison, the city's taxable value increased by roughly 24% from what the tax roll set for the current year's budget.
Increased what percent? I'm sorry,
That would be 24%.
24.
So what does that look like in terms of budget and revenue? So with all the taxing entities' current proposed rates, we're looking at just over 1.4 million in incremental tax revenues in fiscal year 23, which works out to just about an 18% increase over fiscal year 22 revenues. And part of the disconnect there with the 24% that I just mentioned in values and the revenues is I believe that the county's drainage component did include a proposed decrease from, I believe it's just under 1.5 cents to 1.3 cents for their next tax year. So all in all, with your incremental tax revenues of 1.43 million, interest income of 7,500, and expenses, excuse me, 62,000, which includes 50,000 for legal services, as well as 12,661 for the administrative support provided by city staff. You're looking at a net income of just under 1.38 million and an ending balance in the fund of 7.4 million. So with that, if there aren't any more questions, we'll ask you now to take action on both amending fiscal year 22 budget and then 23 and recommending to the city council.
I think we should pass them as separate items, so not combined. Thank you, Justin. Are there any questions for Justin while he has the microphone? If there are not, I will accept a motion to amend the 2022 budget to the projections.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, Terry, a second.
Second.
Jennifer beat you to the punch, Wayne. Motion's made and seconded to amend our 2022 budget to the projections. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now I'll accept motion's approved. Now I'll accept a motion to approve the 2023 proposed budget.
I make a motion to approve the 23 proposed budget as presented.
Made by Pamela. Thank you, Pamela. Second,
Second.
Wade. Thank you. Have a motion to approve the 2023 proposed budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is also approved. You did well, Justin. Thank you. Got everything passed.
Justin, quick question.
Yes.
Can the slides be emailed to us?
Certainly.
Okay, that way they'll have those for when we need to present information to our respective boards. Thank you.
We'll get those to you. Thank you.
Thank you, city staff, for those presentations and your help. Are there any other items of business that we need to address?
One question, as I drive by this area, city, Sugar Land, you're known to be a very beautiful city, but out there it's not. Have you ever thought about planning something along the roadways?
I think this is not an agenda item or related to any of our agenda items. So if you want to just email us your question and we can.
I'm opening it up for future discussion that, because we have end of next year, 7.5 million almost. Should we start thinking about putting it on the agenda to discuss landscaping this area? So it blends in a little bit more than just highways and roads. I mean,
You're thinking about the TIRZ zone property.
there are TIRZ, funding some kind of landscaping.
That clarifies your statement.
I think that's
Thank you.
an excellent question, and as staff, we will put it on your agenda for your next meeting. But you
Okay,
have concluded everything on your agenda for today, so at this point, I'm going
sure.
to ask for a
This
motion
is
to adjourn.
future business I'm asking about.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks everyone for your participation. I always appreciate your attendance and interest. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll do that.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Jennifer, thank you. All approved.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 4:30.
You're a little slow.